Alright, let's do... Maybe it'd be better to do it this way. There we go. That'll work. Oh, you know what I need to do is... Let's... How do I flip the camera? Ah. Get that there. One of these. Hold on, I'll get it. Maybe. This is such a pain in the ass. There we go. Good enough. Oh, need to get water real quick. All right. Oh, man. Oh. How's everybody? See if we can angle this a bit more. Less about me, more about... Yeah, rotate. Why is it locked? Oh wait, it worked. There we go. Why is it locked to one perspective? Whoa, whoa. Actions. No, that's not what I wanted. Whoops. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Sorry, didn't mean to. I'm just randomly hitting buttons. Just got accepted to the University of Houston Clear Lake. Congratulations. Hopefully that's really good news. I'm not familiar with that university. I'm trying really hard to get this to where it needs to be, and it's just being a huge pain in my ass. I need to get like an actual camera for this. That's good enough. So, alright, chat. Hopefully now, when I hit... No, I want to see live chat. There we go. Now I should be able to see everyone's messages. Trying to be a software engineer. Nice. That's a stable career, if nothing else. Whoa, god damn. Alright, so today we're going to work on these guys. They're called Glaive Wraith Stalkers. These are like the hunters. We got horse heads. It's funny, when they were coming out, everybody thought they were Skaven skulls, but they're actually horse skulls, which is kind of a funny goof. Alright, so we need some paper towels for when we inevitably fuck something up. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Then we're going to get our first model, because this unit does not have a champion in it. It's just 5 basic guys. Do need to get a drummer for them, but I've got a drummer for them actually now that I think about it, but he's in a different box. There we go. Nice and secure. Wish chat would stay up. Keeps knocking it down. It's annoying. You bought a monitor that's too big for your desk? Sad face. What is that stand? This is a Citadel model stand. I imagine you could pick them up cheaper almost anywhere, or any hobby store, but I got this one from Games Workshop. And you just snap in a model and it lets you move them around to see all their pretty angles. Oh, that reminds me, I actually need my phone for what I'm about to do, so that's fine. So let's actually switch the camera so y'all don't have to look at my big dumb face. There we go. Oh, sorry, did it disconnect you guys during that? My bad. I didn't think it was going to disconnect the stream while I was doing that. Sorry. Alright. So I just had to watch a quick video about what I'm about to do. Hopefully it didn't destroy everybody. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was going to kick you all off. Oh, I need to put my finished models in a safe space. Alright. Let's move everybody that we're going to paint eventually out on the desk. So we've got the Guardian of Souls. This guy, I'm really looking forward to painting. This guy is super important for what I'm working on right now. Big old spooky ghost boy. Whoop. And then unit-wise, we got another character here. I've got the Chain Ghast, as they're called. Spooky ghosts that imprison people. Then I've got this lad. He's huge. He's going to be the last one I paint, because I want to make sure I am as seasoned as possible before I paint him. And then the last character I've got here is the Lord Executioner. This guy's pretty awesome. I really like this model. And then last but not least, we've got good old Grimghast Reapers, which are just your typical scythe-wielding maniacs who just blindly tear everyone apart. It's great. Oop. Easy there. Okay. And if you haven't seen these guys, I'll go ahead and show them to y'all just in case while I fix the chat. 1 hour till 1. Yeah, I'm going to keep working on my Three Kingdoms campaign. So this is the unit I painted a bit ago. Sorry, it's a little finicky on phones. Oh my god. I don't know why, but there's this bug when you stream from your phone where it doesn't let you rotate your phone. If you try and rotate your phone, and it's super annoying. But this is the unit that I've already finished. These are called the Chain Gas, or Chain Rasps, I think. but they're like the really, really basic. They're the basic bitch infantry of the Nighthaunts, but they're all based and done, ready to go. So there's that. But I'm going to put them away for now. Put y'all back up here. There we go. And we're going to put these guys in a box where they're nice and safe. Yeah, I wanted to stream using my webcam, but then I realized that my webcam was way too short of a cord. What I might try and do to get you guys like a good quality paint stream would be to use my laptop, but I broke the charger, or actually I didn't, Chloe did, my dog. Chloe broke the charger, so I have to borrow another one, unfortunately, unless I want to pay to get it fixed, which I can't afford right now. So I gotta get it fixed, and then after I get it fixed, the goal will be to get it where I have my laptop on my desk and then hook up my webcam to my laptop and stream using that, which would give y'all much higher quality image without it being attached to my phone, so I could use my phone for other things. Because YouTube streaming from your phone is kind of the worst possible way to do it, I have come to learn. But it's what we got right now. I'll have to experiment with that other method. Let's get everybody in their box here. Alright. Now that they're in their box, we will put them back up over there. Alright. Let's get started. So first thing we're going to do today is shading on the Grim Gas. And we want to shade them. We want to start with Hexwraith Flame and then go into Nighthaunt Gloom as we work our way up. That over there. Alright, good night, Val. And I'm probably just going to stream until 3K goes up. I can get the... There we go. So we got a nice shade brush here. Get that wet. Dry it off a little bit. And I'll tell you what, I think the big video that I need to watch are the videos about the people who somehow magically get their paintbrushes to behave. Because, like, you know, mine likes to really fray out a lot like that. Super annoying. I don't know how people keep their brushes in, like, super high quality. It's mystifying to me. This one's being very ill-behaved today. Granted, it's a shade brush. It's not really a big... It's a large shade brush at that. But it's being really hard to... Stupid thing is I even keep it in, like, a nice little thing that keeps it... It's supposed to keep it organized, but... It's just fucking messy. It's obnoxious. Phone, I wish you would leave the chat up even if nobody's chatting. Just so I... let's see. Okay, we'll just leave it in live chat. Alright. And we're starting with Hexwraith. Gotta shake it up real good. Probably gonna have to buy more of this soon. I already blew through like half of it, it feels like, and I use it on just one unit. Alright. Alright, we're gonna really... trying to get this brush into some semblance of a thing here. Okay, we don't want to go all the way down. We just want to go a good portion of the way. A little difficult to work with, just because the brush is kind of fucked up. Anybody else working on anything? Might do this tomorrow too, actually, now that I think about it. We'll go ahead and distribute this across the whole model. Might just make sure it's thin on the edges. The thing about Nighthaunt Gloom is it dries pretty light. And we'll come back with highlight paints to, or edge paints to clean up these little tips later. A little bummed that my shade brush is so goofed up. So I feel like I just got it and it's already kind of not behaving. Alright. Looks good. Base is fucking huge. There we go. That looks much better. Just took a little bit of patience. Alright, so let's make sure we get a nice big old amount on here. Get on in there. Probably need to get like a head cam. Extreme sports, but with Citadel paints instead. What is that even supposed to be? I have to look up that model. And fucking dog fur. There we go. Be careful when I paint this model. He's super fragile. Literally just being held up by this one little piece of like ghost wispiness. good. Do I know anything about 40K? Not a ton. I know little bits here and there about 40K. Most of my knowledge of 40K is like Tyranids. And little snippets. Like, I know a fair amount about the old ones in 40K. Just because I did like a little tiny bit of research to make sure they weren't the fancy old ones, which they definitely are not. I mean, I've done little bits of research about them, but I've never like extensively studied 40K. So I can't say I'm super familiar with it. Aren't the old ones just lizardmen? The 40K old ones seem to be like the Slann from Fantasy. I don't think Games Workshop has ever like officially commented how and if the worlds are related anymore. They used to be super related. Um, it used to be like the fantasy world was just one of the many worlds in the 40K universe, and even before that, back in the days, like when 40K was really really young, it used to be that fantasy was of course like Earth, not like literal Earth, but like kind of like Earth, and like it was where the Emperor came from and all that jazz. But in the modern day, I don't really know if they still have any interesting relation. Seems to be a matter of debate. They don't seem related anymore. Age of Sigmar is like wildly, wildly different because it introduces the concept of the freaking like they're not planets anymore. They're like totally different realms of reality and all this other crazy bullshit that would not at all make sense in the 40K universe. So I'm pretty sure they're not related anymore. So that being said, though, the 40K old ones were very toad-like. From what I've understand, they were kind of like wise toad-like looking creatures. They sound a lot like the Slann. They had fairly weak bodies. That's why they invented a lot of races to fight for them before they ascended to the spiritual plane or whatever. And then they created a bunch of races. They created the Eldar and the Orcs and all this jazz. Whereas in fantasy, the old ones were not the Slann. They created the Slann. They were actually very different looking. The old ones had like a bunch of different appearances. And didn't seem to have like a set. They didn't seem to be a set species. They almost seemed to be like a collection of different races that all were together. And they were just running away from chaos, trying to deal with shit. Whereas in 40K, the old ones were trying to deal with the Necrons. Like, I don't even think chaos was even on the radar for the old ones. Or if it wasn't really that big of a deal to them compared to the Necrons. The Necrons are apparently a much bigger concern. And I think the old ones were already dead before the war with the Necrons even ended. I mean, don't quote me on that, but if I recall correctly, that's... I feel like I need a little bit more on this brush. Oh, missed a little spot there. think AOS and 40k are utterly and completely disconnected. Maybe connected to the case of Wales is unlikely. Do you know if the Empire from Sigmar is the same one as 40k? No, they're totally different. Have I read the new AOS lore? No, it's not out yet. Forbidden Power, it doesn't come out. It's in pre-orders right now. Jesus. We still have a bit till Forbidden Power comes out. So nobody's read it unless they have early access for whatever reason. Which there's some people out there like that. There are even YouTube channels that get early access and free stuff from Games Workshop, but I'm not one of them. Because I don't do enough AOS stuff on my channel, I think. So Games Workshop probably does not see me as a good ally in that department, which is unfortunate because I really like AOS. I just don't want to commit a ton of effort to lore videos on it yet because I want to wait for the lore to get really, really far along. And it's still pretty close to the beginning in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we haven't even had like a big event where Destruction was the main bad guy yet. Everything's about Nagash right now, and everything was about Chaos for the first season, or first edition. There we go, season. It's not a TV show. So I'm kind of waiting till it really gets along. Plus, I want to make sure I've got like a solid amount of fantasy taken care of. Like, I want at least one Lord video from every single race and stuff like that. How many times have I read the End Times books? Probably the small narrative-based books. I've probably read each of them probably a handful of times. Like the Rise of the Horned Rat, I think I've read about 10 times due to recent projects. The rest of them, I don't really read them unless I have to. The really, really big books, I've read those front to back only probably about twice each because they're so huge. But I tend to read excerpts from them a lot. Like whenever I want to do anything involving any race, I almost always have to check them. So I've read them a lot. I just tend not to read them cover to cover very often because it's a lot. It is a ridiculous amount of literature, and those are like 500-page books. Except for Glotkin, which was a terrible book anyway. Glotkin was kind of a cop-out. I mean, most of them were cop-outs, but Glotkin was particularly bad. It's like they dedicated only 5 books to the entire end of a 30-year-old world, fantasy world, and they wrapped it up in 5 books, and they had an entire book dedicated to one god's invasion of the Empire, and that was it. It had a little bit of Vampire Count stuff thrown in, and a little smidge of Bretonia stuff thrown in, but that was it. There was nothing else. No Tomb Kings, no ogres, no greenskins, no elves at all, no dwarves. It was just a mess. And numerous important parts of the book weren't even revealed until the next book, which was a little silly. And they introduced like a bunch of crazy new Nurgle bad guys that were like fucking gigantic. The Glotkin and the Magath Riders, instead of, using the characters they already had. That was one of the goofy parts to me, is like, you figured that some of the Chaos invasions of the Empire would have been led by characters we've known and loved for at least like the last decade. Nope. You'd be wrong. It's all brand new characters. Like, Festus the Leech Lord and Kugoth Plaguefather were present, and they were kind of important, but they were already in Altdorf. They weren't leading the big invasion for reasons. Epidemius didn't show up until much later in the invasions. He ended up like he was leading one of the prongs of the invasion, but the Magath riders had to summon him in the first place. Very messy. It's like, really feels like Festus should have been the main character if they were going to go all Nurgle, and they're like, nah, screw those old characters. Let's get these new characters. Because we want to sell models. And it was like, that seems very unnecessary. You already have all these glorious models. Why don't you just be like, hey, the world's ending. You better buy them now before they go off sale forever. But what do I know? I'm just a big, stupid nerd fan. Alright, it's a little heavy down here. Let's clean this up a little bit. Like, I do want it to fall into the recesses and the cracks, yes, but not quite to the extent that it blots everything else in the universe out. Okay. That's it for that layer, he says as he drops a model. I have serious Butterfinger syndrome. Hey, hello, chat. My ugly face for you. Need to vacuum in here. It's got too much dog fur on the fucking carpet. Alright. So now that needs to dry on all these buggers. This one's almost dry. Ah, man. So we'll let the light kind of radiate on these little guys for a bit. Any questions while you have my attention, chat? I mean, look at this brush. I've only used this maybe a handful of times, I think, and it's like super frayed. It's very upsetting. Yeah, I've read about Forbidden Power. Hopefully, maybe on even unleashing a new faction. What are the good books that are from the Lizardman perspective? There are none. There has never been a book written from the Lizardman perspective ever in all of Games Workshop's history. The only times we see the Lizardman from their perspective are from short stories, and when I say short stories, I mean literally a paragraph from the army books. But other than that, there is never a story from the Lizardman's perspective. Closest thing that has Lizardman perspectives in it is the Thanquil book called Temple of the Serpent. Temple of the Serpent has a Slaan's perspective a few times, but that's the best you get. Which old one is my favorite? Sotek, if you're not counting Sotek for reasons that are acceptable, my favorite old one is... my favorite old one is probably Quetzal. Quetzal is the old one of like strength and armor and like defensive tactics and Whenever I would play tabletop back in 6th edition, when you could like dedicate units of lizardmen to an old one, you could give them a blessing. Um, they were called sacred spawnings, but you could get sacred spawning units, and I would always take Quetzal because he would give you more armor, which was just great. What does the Salon say in it? He says a lot of stuff. If you're going to read Prophet of the Sotek, I don't want to mention what the Salon says because he spoils the book. Because he kind of is like up to stuff. Would I want a dual mechanic from Three Kingdoms to be in Total War Warhammer? Jake, not really, because although it would be super cool, it would be... Excuse me. I think it would be an unrealistic amount of effort for them to create dual animations for all the different types of characters. Because you have to remember, when you're making dual animations for characters, you have to do all the man-sized characters who are infantry. Then you have to do all of the monstrous infantry characters like Throg and characters who are big but they're not full-on monsters. Then you have to do the monster animations for characters like Kolek Suneater. Then you have to do the animations for characters who are mounted on monsters like just a ton of characters, Malekith and Krokgar and all those guys. Then you have to, then you'd have to do mounted characters on horses and velociraptors. Then you'd have to do flying mounted characters like Malekith and Phoenixes and Grey Eagles and all that crazy bullshit. Then you'd have to do chariot characters like Kazrak. I think that's an insane amount of work for a feature that would be very cool, but ultimately, I think from CA's perspective, that would not be worth it unless we were going to pay money for it, and people would lose their shit if they charged money for a feature like that. Although I think it would be fair to charge money for that, I don't think the community, and I think much of the community would be happy to pay for it. I think the wider community, the outrage culture, would get a lot of bullshit retard sympathy from it by just like being like, oh, look how they're splitting up the game and charging money for it. And people would just hop on it and ruin CA's day, and it wouldn't be worth it for them. So I don't think we're ever going to see that. Read any good books lately? Yes, Quick Head Taker. Also, the book's just called Head Taker. That book is super fucking funny. Super funny. Morgoth from Lord of the Rings versus Archaon. I imagine Morgoth would win that. Morgoth is more akin to a god than a fighter, from my understanding. I feel like Sauron might be a fair fight for Archaon, like Archaon at full power in the end times, but Morgoth? No, I don't think Archaon could. Because Morgoth is so powerful, from my understanding, that most people are like Morgoth versus the Chaos Gods, or a Chaos God, and people like still argue like crazy. So I don't see how Archaon could win that fight. Alright, guys. I was really hoping to actually do a long stream on this, but I have just now realized that to paint these guys, I actually have to use my phone to use a program. But if I just learned that if I use it while streaming, it'll kill the stream. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream and call it a night. But I'm going to stream tomorrow night painting much, much earlier so y'all can actually catch it. And, I'm going to set up my laptop so that I can use my webcam so it'll be a much, much higher quality stream and y'all can actually see what the fuck's going on. But this is not going to work with what I need to do, so I'm going to go ahead and call it for tonight. So I apologize. That's my bad. I fully admit to dropping the ball on this one. So apologies for that. I will be back tomorrow, though, I swear, with a much longer stream that'll start much earlier. So apologies for wasting y'all's time. We will talk more tomorrow. Till then, you all have a good night. Thanks, guys.